Greetings and welcome back to Switched to Linux. Today we're talking about Adobe strikes again. That is exciting. So, thanks in fact to Isaiah for passing this interesting article on to me. We are using an article he sent out and starting that as a launching point to discuss the exciting, crazy things that Adobe is doing. Before we get into that, just a brief note, we will not be doing a live stream tomorrow, no supporter stream. I might, if there's a quorum, I might do a supporter stream on Saturday. Maybe I could do it Friday afternoon, but I might need to do the Christian stream Friday afternoon. I don't know yet. We'll figure something out, but I won't be doing a live stream tomorrow. I'll probably just release one of these two videos or do some other video as well. And so with that, I guess the only other update, we'll talk about this more in the second section, but I do have the proof copies now of the new book, Josiah's Sanctification, is released. Reminder that any Patreon or Think Life Media supporters can get access to the ebooks and audiobooks. If you do want those and you are a supporter at $5 a month or more, let me know by email. I don't have them up on any of the platforms yet. I will get those up as soon as I can. In fact, I can't put the ebook up until July, but I will put the audiobook up soon. All right, but with that, let's go ahead and jump on over. Not a lot of folks on today. This is what happens when I wait until 5:15 to post the release about the thing. Probably like nobody's been alerted to it. That's why if you want to jump onto the social media platforms, you might get more notifications if you use those things or not. I don't know. It's up to you. But anyway, greetings. Hello, Peter Green. Hello, Isaiah. Daniel, greetings to you. Alexander, how's it going there? Yes, the kitty says meow. Jeff Hope, hello to you. Pay attention to Adobe when they release for Linux, or maybe not. Yeah. With what we're going to look at today, no, you don't even really want to even think about it. It's like, we use Linux. Nobody cares. Okay. Let's see. Peter Green, so you got me into Linux. Any good recommendations on sites for someone who knows nothing about programming? It depends on what type of programming you want to do. App programming, web programming, what type of programming are you looking at? Is that novels you write? No, I write Christian. I do have some non-Christian topics that will be coming down the pipeline sometime soon. This is actually the start of a series. It's going to be 6 or 7 books, which are very short reads. You can read them about an hour to an hour and a half. Audiobooks are an hour and a half. And the other books I have are also on the Christian topic. I do have a plan for a potential sci-fi fiction series I'm thinking about. And I have plans for a minimalism / simple living type approach as well. No, they're not novels. They are basically like Christian growth, learning about the doctrines in the practical level. So this book is about, it's a story of King Josiah, who is cleaning out the temple, and they find a copy of the law, and that's what he realizes he needs to do is obey the law. I have another book, Testing and Temptations, which is about sanctification and just the steps and the processes by which we grow. I have one called I Am Not Amused, which is about setting up an appropriate plan for media entertainment as a Christian. And then I have a parody on First World Christianity that is called Art of Shallow Neighboring. All right, suppose start with app programming. All right, so app programming, if you are doing iPhone app programming, you want to learn Ruby on Rails, which is the foundation of your Apple programming. I think it's Ruby on Rails. I think it's Ruby, but I can't remember for sure. If you want to do Android app programming, you want to learn Java. And actually with Android is the one I'd recommend because you can get the Android Creator Studio free, which is the entire studio that you need to make and test and develop applications. But it's all based on Java, so you're going to want to look at Java scripts. All right, so with that being said, let's go ahead and jump on into our topic. Take another sip of coffee and start the recording. Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Adobe has gone and done it again. This time they're even threatening legal actions among their subscribers. What? Yes, that's actually true. Yeah, Adobe's a giant mess. Of course, they have worked really hard at becoming the dominant player in the market of, the creative arts. And now that everyone's was pretty much had to use them, they pulled the rug out from everybody and said, now you gotta be in a subscription model. So it's basically like a vampire perpetually attaching fangs to your neck. And then now they just keep on, if you remember in the news, was it last week or 2 weeks ago? I forget. But Adobe did away with the bottom tier of the subscription, which was a $10 photography pack, including Photoshop and one other application for photographers. And they doubled the price of that. They just completely doubled it, went from $10 a month to $20 a month. And really nothing you can do about it, because it's like you have gotten yourself so tied to the Adobe ecosystem that you just scream, I can't do anything else, I have to use it. No, you only have to use it as far as that's what you do. You can learn to use alternative programs as well. And if enough people start jumping ship from Adobe, then the alternative programs will just get better. So that's something to think about. So what did Adobe do this time? Well, this article was passed me by a viewer, Isaiah. Thank you. Adobe warns users of older Creative Cloud apps of potential copyright claims. Now, first let's break down CS versus CC. So I still have on my Windows computer, that's the computer behind me that the monitor is off, I still run a CS version 4, which does everything I need it to do just as well. I bought it when the day CS5 came out. The CS4 versions went on sale for 60% off, and I snagged one up that very morning. I think Amazon had like 2 left, and I snagged one of them up. Paid over $1,000 for it. I think it was, $1,000, $1,500, maybe. I forget how much I paid for it, but it was a lot. It was worth it. I mean, it was worth it. The problem is, now I bought that 10 years ago, and it still works just fine. Adobe's looks at that type of approach and goes, man, people are buying the software. They're spending a lot of money. Of course, those that buy it, not pirate it, buying the software, they're spending a lot of money, but they're not updating it, because we hit this point in time. If you had CS, like if you had Photoshop before the CS happened, man, it sucked. It's worth the upgrade. In fact, I have a copy of CS2 as well. CS2 to CS4, major leap. CS4 to CS6, not so much. And this is what happens in the model. Like, that computer also still runs Office 2007. There is no reason I have to update beyond Office 2007. It does everything I need it to do. In fact, the later versions of Office start to seriously interfere with my workflow, and so I become less productive. So what ends up happening is we get into this world where we find the software we like, and then we stick with that software, and we don't want to upgrade beyond it because there's really no more reason. So what do these companies do? Well, they force subscription models on you. They force updates. And what's going on here is there was the original CC. So that was a giant rabbit trail to say there's a difference between CC and CS. My apologies, I got off my rabbit trail. So CS is the Creative Suite. This is when you bought the discs. They came with a license. Generally, the license was a perpetual license. As long as you have the discs, you can install it, install the system. That is not impacted, best I can tell. Now, can they shut those off? Yeah. Could they work a backdoor deal with Microsoft to kill those softwares? Yes. We've seen them do that with several other pieces of software. So the challenge here is that your CS for now is still not a problem. The CC, however, this is the subscription model where everything's all in the cloud, but you can download a desktop application. So you work on the desktop application, and that interfaces with your Adobe Cloud, and that's how the system works. Now, what happens here is, back a long time ago with CS, with CC, they had a licensing deal with Dolby. So Dolby, of course, sound audio. And that licensing deal with Dolby, it was easy to figure out how much you owed when you were selling physical copies of the media. The problem is with the subscription services, it becomes harder to say. As an author, I sell print books, I sell digital books. It's a lot easier to figure out what's going on in the print book world than it is in the digital book world. So as I'm trying to figure out how to move everything over into a company, because I'm going to be splitting royalties with some authors I'm co-authoring some things with, and sending royalties to other authors that I don't have anything to do with their book, I'm just their publisher. You get into this situation of how do you know you're getting the right amount of money? And we, authors dealing with Amazon, ran into this issue when Amazon completely killed CreateSpace, forcing everybody onto the KDP platform. And then what ended up happening is there was some issue with the accounting, and a lot of us were deeply concerned we weren't actually getting our ebook sales reported correctly. And then, when it's a print copy, it's a little bit easier to track. When it's a digital copy, it becomes a little bit harder. And that's what happened with Adobe and Dolby. This is totally going to confuse me throughout this talk. But Dolby would allow Adobe to self-report for paying licensing fees and royalties. The question is that every now and again, they will send an independent auditor to go audit the books. And there was some question about whether the audit showed the correct data or did not show the correct data. And so Dolby, not trusting Adobe, sued Adobe. In light of this, it is apparent that Adobe pulled Dolby out of their systems. I'm actually keeping this straighter than I was thinking I was going to. And in so doing, what they're saying is that if you are using one of the older versions of Creative Cloud, it's not Creative Cloud. It is Creative Cloud. Yeah, CC is Creative Cloud. If you're using the older version of Creative Cloud and you're keeping that on your system, you may be using Dolby without Dolby getting the licensing fee from Adobe. And so what they're doing to fix this is saying, we are pulling the license. So even though you're paying the monthly subscription fee for Adobe CC, if you still are running the older version, you are opening yourself up to a lawsuit by Dolby. Because Dolby and Adobe are not cooperating well with each other. And it's kind of like if you go into a college town like this town, and if I happen to have roommates around here, all right? If I happen to have roommates, every lease in this town, at least done by the people who know how to do leases, has a clause in that lease called jointly and severally liable. Jointly and severally liable in legalese means that the total rent is due. Say it's $1,000. You got two roommates. Each one contributes $500. Well, if your roommate gets all crazy and gets all strung out on meth and goes and whatever else and chooses to spend all his money on buying his meth supplies rather than paying his rent, they don't care that you've paid your $500. They still are owed $500, and they're going to come after both of you. They look at the two of you and go, this guy's got a good job. This guy's a meth head. We're going to sue the guy with a good job because our clause says jointly and severally liable, which means jointly, you guys figure it out on your own. Our task is to collect $500 from all people in the lease, which means $1,000 total. And if we can't get it from the meth head, we're going to get it from the other guy instead. That's what a jointly and severally liable is. And so basically what Dolby apparently is looking at this is, we are not getting our licensing fee. Adobe is not paying us the licensing fee. So if we find out anybody's using our software, this software which has Dolby in it, we are going to sue that person for our licensing fee. That seems to be what's going on. And so to account for this, Adobe said if you're using anything other than the latest two versions of Creative Cloud desktop software, that license is now revoked and you are not allowed to use that. That's exactly what they're basically saying. So they're sending these letters out. So here's actually a copy of that letter a little bit bigger. Let's see if I can get it even bigger. There we are. There's even bigger. So it says, Dear valued customer, this is coming from Adobe to the customers of Adobe Creative Cloud. All right. At Adobe, we always strive to deliver more value to our customers, including much requested new features and capabilities, critical bug fixes, and security updates. You can tell this is written by a PR person. All right, it continues. For these reasons, we recommend all customers to use the latest release of our Creative Cloud applications. We have recently discontinued certain older versions of Creative Cloud applications, and as a result, under the terms of our agreement, you are no longer licensed to use them. Our records show you may be using the following versions, and it will list the versions. Please be aware, should you continue to use a discontinued version, you may be at risk of potential claims of infringement by third parties. Please upgrade to the latest versions. Okay, now this is where I have some serious problems with these licensing type models, with these cloud-based systems. There may be some problem with that new version. Example, I'm using GIMP on Linux right now, which, by the way, there's no licensing fee, but there is a filter in GIMP 2.10 that does not work that I use on a daily basis. As a result, I keep my GIMP locked at 2.8. If I were forced to upgrade to 2.10, I would lose some of the functionality unless they fixed that, and last I knew they didn't. However, that was about 4 or 5 months ago. Maybe I should look into it again. It wasn't that long. It was only 2 months ago. I don't know. But anyway. With that being said, what Adobe is now trying to do is trying to tell you you cannot use this software more. Even though you are still paying a monthly subscription, we do not allow to use that piece of software. You have to use the latest software. What happens if the latest 2 software contain really bad stuff in it? What happens if they're scraping everything that you do and you don't have a choice in it because you can't use that third party? What happens if you get sued for using software that you're actually paying for? I think that you'd probably just, if someone tried to come after me, I'd be like, go talk to Adobe. I'm paying them for it. You know, that's an interesting thought, an interesting question, an interesting whatever. And so with that being said, this is kind of a frightening thing. Now, here's what Adobe actually says. They don't make any reference at all to this potential lawsuit, although that is what's going on. So they offer numerous different things, and this is all just a positive PR spin. Going forward, you can only download the latest 2. This will enable you to have the best features from our recommended people. Oh, shut up, you stupid PR person. Really? Really? This is more about what everyone else knows it's about. It's turning into a big legal mess. Cloud is supposed to be a big win-win for all parties involved. Consumers always have access to the latest and supposedly most bug-free version. The reality is sometimes it's harsher and stranger than fiction, and now subscribers to Adobe's Creative Cloud Suite are finding themselves the subject of potential legal threats from third parties suing Adobe itself. All right. And so, of course, the article goes on to talk about what we've already talked about with doubling the subscription price of the old photography model. Now they go into more detail about the Dolby lawsuit. So what is a person to do? Well, the reality is, GIMP will replace Photoshop for the vastest majority of users. There are definitely some niche cases where you have to continue using the Adobe products. It is far fewer people than justify it by saying GIMP sucks. No, it doesn't suck. It's just difficult to use, kind of like Photoshop is. Remember the first time you booted up Photoshop and you looked at it and you said you had no idea what you're doing and you got used to it and you know what you're doing? Well, GIMP's the same way. It is just as full-featured. In fact, there's several things that I find it does better. That's my thoughts. So what do you do? Well, they have a whole variety of software, and I can't rattle off every single alternative replacement, but here's some brief ones. If you need Photoshop, look at GIMP and look at Krita. Those 2 will handle all of your needs, and there are others than the things I'm going to mention. For Dreamweaver that I use a lot as a web developer, Bluefish is every bit as good. Bluefish is awesome. Again, there's some other editors as well. There's some more simple ones, which are basically just like Notepad with code hints. I like the more full-featured type applications. I don't know why, because I actually just code things manually anyway with code hints. I don't know. Maybe I should try Atom. I don't know. If you're using Illustrator, look at Inkscape. I think Inkscape is every bit as good as Illustrator. The only thing I know of that it doesn't support, there's probably other things. The only thing I know of it doesn't support is multiple canvases, unless they've changed that recently. I don't know. And there's going to be other software as well out there that will definitely replace the vast majority of your Adobe products. Of course, for video editing, I use Kdenlive. So there are alternatives out there, and it's very important that we look to the alternatives, because Adobe is, they have gotten us all in one room. They have now closed the door, and now they are squeezing the walls tighter and tighter on their own customer base. They are vampires. They're going to keep coming for more and for more and for more. And this is just a sign of this. So what do you think about this? Let me know in the comments down below. Do you use it? Do you not use it? Have you ever used GIMP? Have you gotten frustrated on it? What about Inkscape? What about Bluefish? Let us know your comments down below. All right, there's our first topic out of the way, Adobe. Let's see. Where'd we go? Learn Ruby first. There you go. GIMP is so capable. Even years ago on Windows, I used GIMP over Photoshop. First time I used GIMP, it was very buggy and very crashy. I think that was around the time CS2 was coming out. That would have been, in fact, I think I looked at that when I was working on my dissertation. I bought Adobe CS2 because I could get it on a student license for, I don't know, 50 bucks or something. I forget. I did it for doing my dissertation. So let's see. Adobe and Windows are two big dumpster fires. Yes, they are. Put two of them together, man, you got a bonfire. You can have alternatives, but if you're so connected to a software, you won't leave it that easily. Yes, but that's the thing. We need to leave. We need to detach. We need to always be looking. This is why, despite I'm going to do a video section soon on LibreOffice, I'm still trying to learn LaTeX, just in case it's a better alternative. Is it more complicated? Oh, infinitely. Will it potentially help? It might. I don't know yet. I don't have a final verdict on LaTeX yet. But Photoshop, yeah, whoa. LibreWriter does absolutely everything perfect. And so that's kind of what I'm using. All right. Watching Nintendo Direct. That's all right, Loopy, man. You watch what you want to watch, man. For to pay $1,000 just one time. Yes, that's right. I mean, think of the cost to do the Adobe license. Let's see what their pricing is now. Let's get me a price tag on this crap. Creativity and design. What is view plans and pricing? All right, so our plans and our pricing. Okay. Ooh, a limited time offer. Annual plan. That's $29.99 a month on their annual plan. They still actually have the 99 photographers up here. I'm not sure why that is. That was, I thought that was completely removed. Maybe they're A/B testing it. What I bet they're probably doing. So yes, for the sale right now, $29.99 would cost you $359 per year. Now that's if you're paying it annually. If you pay it monthly, you're paying $79. So if you're a small business and you just don't have that kind of money laying around, then this is going to cost you $1,000 a year for all the apps. Of course, there's all apps plus Adobe Stock, which gives you access, I think, to fonts and stock photos and things. Any individual single application is going to cost you about 20 bucks a month if you pay it annually. Here there's an annual plan. Paid monthly is $20.99. Annual plan prepaid. This is a single application, so this is just Photoshop, just Stream, just whatever. Or the monthly plan, it's $31. What's that? $31.49 by 12 will cost you $379. So you're going to save about 150 bucks if you do it annually. But still, times 12, so the single application annually paid monthly is going to be $250. But still, if I want to say I paid $1,200 for it. I don't know. I just saw the receipt for it not too long ago. And I've actually had that running for about 10 years. Means this has cost me, the entire suite has cost me about $100 a year. So that's what we're looking at. That's individuals. If you say you have a business, you're already paying a whole lot more. Students and teachers, you can get cheap prices, but understand if you do anything and sell it, you are violating your plan. And then schools and universities, yeah, there you go. So that's kind of what Adobe's doing. That's kind of crazy. I got a super chat. Thank you very much for that super chat. Steve Anderson, thank you for that super chat, my friend. Always appreciate that. All right. How do you add a cover to a book in Word? I don't know. I'll show you how to add a cover to a book in LibreOffice. I don't know how to cover to a book in Word. Okay. Are there any programs for Linux like Scrivener that might work? Okay. I think you had asked me this question in the comments. I am not familiar with this software application, so let me look into that real quick. All right. Scrivener is... typewriter, ring border, scrapbook. Yeah, is this kind of like... is this like one of the organizer platforms where you can kind of like write notes and organize your writing? Is that what this application is? I don't know. I actually plan my writing on pen and paper. Yeah, ask me, get me the answer to that though. It looks like it's all just kind of organization type stuff. I don't know. I'd have to look into that. I don't know. I'd have to look into more details on those. Steve, the peppermint lover. Yes. Steve, would you like a peppermint? Oh, still in Vermont. Nice. Got here from Nintendo Direct. All right. Very cool. Must miss the family crazy to see you, or Family Guy. Yep. Pizza Raid, even though only 2 people were watching. All right. Greetings, Pizza. How's it going there? Banana Raid. All right. People still don't care. Dolby won't find out unless someone tells them, or Dolby hacked their computer and find out. People use cracked softwares all the time with no problem. Adobe is just scaring people, probably. Or just really forcing people to change their, version up because, I don't know, they put something nefarious in there. Hey, I still have a kitty down there. If you guys didn't see the kitty earlier, not a fan of cloud services, nor am I. Man, I remember, I forget who it was. I was watching some videos from a guy doing a lot of things with DaVinci Resolve, and he said he started getting into that because he was forced onto the Adobe Cloud, which is what he used, and he couldn't access anything. It wouldn't let him save stuff directly to the computer. I don't know if you'd have to watch his video. But that's that. Let's see. Don't have subscriptions. Only one for Netflix to watch TV shows. There you go. Yep. Stopped using Adobe products when they abandoned Flash. There you go. See, my version of CS4, I still have Flash. That's right. Notice I could not get Wi-Fi drivers working unless I was using LTS kernel and Mint Cinnamon 19.1. Yeah, it's probably just a Broadcom or something. Other site am I streaming on? I only stream on YouTube right now. I'm open to thinking about other sites. I do own a Twitch account, so no one stole my name, but I've never done anything with it. Heading down to exercise before I get on tonight. All right, Steve, we'll see ya. Streaming reactions to Nintendo Direct. I'll probably get copyright striked. All right. What did Adobe do now? Last time I ever used their product was back in college. Yeah. Okay, we should thank Adobe for PDF and some sort of standard for read-only docs. Just imagine Microsoft pushing their standard first. If I remember correctly, though, I don't think Adobe came up with PDF. They just bought the format early. Once again, Steve, thank you for that super chat. Always appreciate that, my friend. All right, contribution, you can give them a pat on the back for you. Yeah, I could be wrong, though. Did Adobe actually create the PDF or not? I'm not sure they did. Tons of money if they would switch to free and open source software where they think free and open source is not as good. Shame. Adobe does now is just like a standard for companies giving the field away. Google will get a new standard one day or another. Yeah, CJ's being cute down there. Right, kitty? You being cute? You being cute? Yeah. I got the tail to wag. It's your cat's name. That cat is CJ. I have another one named TJ, but she's camera shy. You'll rarely ever see her. Super hyped. All right, super hype, huh? All right, well, let me find my... All right, we will go ahead and get started on our next topic, which is going to be... Oh, I need to move some banners around too. All right, documents, banners, title, boom. Let me go ahead and get the files I wanted to get going quickly too. There's that. There's that. All right, minimize that, and I think we are about ready to go. Welcome back to Switch to Linux. Today we are going to have a quick look at some LibreWriter Office formatting. So LibreOffice is a fabulous open source alternative to Microsoft's Office, and for 99.9% of you, this is going to replace everything you need to do in Office. There are other alternatives. WPS is one. There's a few other ones out there as well. There are a lot of these are good. I like LibreOffice because it is probably the most feature-rich. It contains everything that you'll get inside of Microsoft Office, outside of probably Outlook, which I use Evolution for, so just not wrapped under the same package. You can get databasing, mail merging. You can automatically do printing labels without having to mess with downloading templates. There's just so many functions and features inside of this. Now, I actually use LibreOffice and LibreWriter to produce my books. I'm an author. This is my latest. I just got this proof copy in today, and it looks beautiful. This book was entirely written and formatted on LibreOffice. Let me just find a chapter start page. You can just kind of get a chance to see what that looks like. Everything was printed out just fine. So here's this. You can actually see, let me find one that's a block quote that, there we go. Let's do another chapter title. You can see the block quotes are different ones. We have first letter drop downs on the paragraphs, just a lot of good formatting. Now, I've never had a problem with outporting my file to go into the distribution printers, whether that be KDP or Lightning Source. All of those systems have accepted my documents and manuscripts perfectly fine. So to grab a copy of this, and this will work on any platform, so I am doing this video on Linux. You can use this on Windows. You can use it on Mac. And of course, Linux. So you can go ahead and grab all the downloads. I'll remind you, if you are on Linux, install it from your software manager because it's always a lot safer than downloading. But if you are on Windows or on Mac, you can download whatever version you need there. So you can check out the download links on that for more information. So what we're going to do here is, this is just going to be a very brief just kind of an introduction to some of the layouts, formatting. How do you actually get a book ready to be sent to a printer? Now, when you get into LibreOffice, you may have different looking menu buttons up here. You can actually change how your buttons look. If you do like the Microsoft Office ribbon version and you are on, I think, 6.2 or later, you can actually come in here and find, I think it's under, I forget where it is. I hate it, so I don't remember where it is. I think it's under user interface. You will have more options than I have just right here, and you'll have some to be able to put in a standard ribbon. on it. But the most useful function that you will have is you have this sidebar over here. So it might be collapsed and hidden like this. You can always pop this out. This gives you a lot of the tools that you need to make a document ready to go to print. So we have inside of here our basic properties. We have some style writing here. These are our page formats. This is actually the pane that you live in. It contains all of your formatting for your paragraph types, for your individuals, for your frames and styles, for your pages, just all your lists and things like that. So all these different functions. Here's gallery stuff. I don't use that much. And then, of course, we have our navigation. So we can go to any individual section inside the book just by clicking in and expanding. All right. So what we're going to do here now, this book here is printed in 5 inches by 8 inches. It's a little bit smaller than my other books. I wanted to go smaller than this, but this is the smallest book size available by Amazon. And I wanted the books to be the exact same size, no matter if you got it from Amazon or if you got it from any other store that was out there. Of course, you couldn't see what I just showed you because my camera's not on. Anyway, but this book here is 5 by 8. So what you're going to do is the first thing you want to do is just kind of look at the basic page layouts. So inside of your styles and formatting, our 4th one over here is called page styles. So if you hover down over it, you can see page styles. You can see that I have a default style, a chapter title page, an endnote, a first page, index, landscape, left page, and right page. And then what you do with all of these is you will use these to define what the pages are, because it's going to set your margins and such different. I don't actually think I'm using first page in this one. This one is, usually I use this one as as I might also have a copyright page. I don't on this particular book. I do for the end notes. So if I go down to the end notes, I've got to find the end notes. Should be bibliography, might be an endnote page. So you'll see that's an endnote page. The reason you're going to do these is you want to have differences in your margins and in your styles. The biggest place you're going to notice that is if you go in the middle of a chapter somewhere and you look at a left page versus a right page. So I'm going to zoom this guy up. Now, if you look closely, one of the things that you will see is that the margins do not appear to line up entirely. The reason for this is you need to have gutter margins, and your margins on your left page and your margins on your right page are actually offset from each other. So the inside where the book binding is, which is going to be on an even page on your right side and on an odd page on your left side, are actually going to be slightly wider than the other margin to account for binding the book. All right, so to do that, we set this left page and right page. And then what we end up doing is on our chapter page, we just got to find the chapter start page. You'll see that this is a chapter title page. So I come up to the end of the page, and then I want to come up and I want to insert more breaks, and I want to select a manual break. And when I do a manual break, it asks me, do I want to do a line break, a column break, or a page break? And then you select the style. So you select chapter title page, and then on the chapter title page, you can actually set in the properties that the very first page after a chapter title page is actually going to be a left page. And after every left page is a right page. And after every right page is a left page. So it will continue to fix your formatting correctly. How do you pull that off? So let's go ahead and start with our chapter title page. So with this, we want to right click and modify. Inside of this, you can see this is the name of it, and the next style means that the very next page after this one will go to the next style, which is left page. Now, this is why many books, you will find that if you grab any random book, almost all books will always start with the chapter title, or the chapter title. The first page of a chapter will generally fall on exactly one or the other of the pages, and it's standard to put it on the right-hand page or on an odd page of the book. They do that to fix all the margins and to make sure that everything is always consistent. So after the chapter title page, you could select, is this going to be a right page or a left page? You could put it under footnotes and notes, whatever it happens to be. And then, of course, if we come down to our left page and modify, as you might guess it, the next style is right page. And it will keep on doing left page, right page, left page, right page until I go up and put a manual break. All right, so that's how we get our manual breaks in there that are going to align our margins correctly. Of course, the other things inside of all these page styles is you'll see that the page set is set to a 5" by an 8", which is the specifications. And then wherever you're getting your book printed, make sure that you have your margins set correctly. So I actually have my margins set, but if you actually look at the text, I actually offset my text a little bit to the page number. I do this by having all paragraph spaces having a little bit of extra indent. It just gives us just a little bit more gap and makes it look a little bit nicer. It's just one of these little fine details that you do on a book just to make sure everything's lined up. That's a bad example because that's in a block quote. There it is. So you can see that how we did that. All right. So inside of this, when you modify it, set all your pages and then set all of your margins. So if you were to notice the left and the right margins, this is the left page. You'll see your left and your right margins. And if I were to also look at the right page, you'll notice that the left and the right margins are offset one by another. One is 0.6, 0.5, the other is 0.5, 0.6. So I'll go back to the left so you can see that. Okay. That fixes the gutter margin to make sure that you always have the right amount of margin on either side of the page. Now there's other things you can do in here as well. We can turn on the headers, you can turn on the footers, things like that. And so what I have going on here is I have my footer. Your footers are always defined for the page style. So I can turn on or turn it off. Any change that I make to the footer over here, what it's going to happen is it's going to show up other places. So if I just do a tab, and a, there you go, just do something like that. What it's going to do is every single place there's a right page, it's going to put that same footer in there. All right. But it doesn't do it on the left. We'd have to do the left and the right separately from one another. So it's getting me that blinkiness because it is going through and fixing it across the whole book. So you can do the same thing there. And that's actually how I made, if you find a chapter title page, I center the text in this one. Did I actually spell Thessalonians wrong? No, Thessalonians is the word that is not in any real dictionary. It's kind of funny. All right, now, as far as your headers are concerned, one of the things that you will notice is on your left-hand page, I have the title of the book, which is simply inserted in here. But on the right one, you'll see that it looks gray. Anything that is gray is automatically being inserted by some type of code. The other place you will spot this is you will spot it in a, you'll spot, there's table of contents. Okay, stop. One of the things that's kind of annoying working with huge documents is keep on scrolling, it'll keep on going even beyond the point where you tell it to stop. All right, there you go. So you see that this one's also gray. You'll see that the first character of the indents are gray, and my scripture index is also gray. So these are the parts that are inserted by code. So how do you do those different codes? All right, so the first one, let's just kind of go down here. We'll find one of these pages here. Now, what this is doing is it's calling the current section title, which is, guess what, linked with the chapter title. So I've linked each one of those with the chapter title. So you can see here, Josiah, a conflicted kingdom, and Josiah, a conflicted kingdom. There it is. Okay, so what you do to pull this off is you need to make sure that this guy here is set as a heading. So if I go back up to my page styles and look at paragraph, you'll notice that this is set as a heading. Okay, so I have a heading and I actually have a chapter number. This is the chapter number. this is the heading. Now my headings are actually what's being used to call my formatting. I got to remember if I can spot this one. I got to remember where this one is at. It is going to be, I should have looked this one up. I always forget where this is. I find it after a few minutes, but I always forget where it is. I believe it's under Tools, Language. Oh, Chapter Numbering. There you go. So Chapter Numbering pulls up, and this is why you always want to make sure that you're grabbing something that you can run consistently across documents. So Chapter Number, Page Styling. So here I'm selecting every heading is called a Level 1. Heading 2, of course, would be a Level 2. There's nothing set as a Level 3, and I intentionally turned that off because I didn't want anything because it could mess up some of the formatting in other places. So with this being set as your original heading system, then you find one of these guys, and what we want to do is under Insert, and we want to do I think it's a field. So we can do page number, page count, date, first author, and more fields. And under more fields, we do cross references. I got to remember this one. This is the one that I actually grabbed. Let's see. So there's an author, there's a name, there's a chapter. There you go. There's a chapter name. So that's what you do is your chapter name, which is directly linked to your H1. I could do chapter number. I could do a variety of different things. So of course now that completely messed up all my headings, as you'll see, because it had those. So I can just kind of delete whichever ones I don't need. That's how to fix that. Now, why did I have my headings set at heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, etc.? I think my system is crashing out on me. I might need to restart LibreWriter. That will happen every now and again on a completely formatted document, such as this, unless my entire system's shut down. Oh, there it goes. There it went. All right. It was just getting itself caught up. Now let's talk about your indexes up here. So when we went back to organizing your index, if you remember going up here and looking at the chapter numbering, the reason this is important here is when you create an index, you want to call what level you want to use. So I always just use the first level. So if I want to right-click, edit the index, this is actually the indexing level, and it asks me how do I want to index. So if I want to do level 2, then it's going to go through and automatically give me an index including all of the level 2 indexes as well, which I don't want to do that, so I just keep it at level 1. And then with level 1, it will go through and it will automatically fix itself. These types of changes you don't do in the middle of the document. That's why it's kind of freezing out. And on top of this, I'll mention that this computer just does not do as well with this particular application package for some reason. I actually use this on my other system, so it says it's updating the index. It shouldn't take that long, but it does. Now, the other options that you have inside of your index, you have the ability to protect it against manual changes. Now, I actually turned this off because in the final book, I did not want table of contents here. Now, I could have changed my index so that this was not a true index, but it would, the problem with doing that is I could style it exactly the same, but not have it a true heading. That's a way to get around it, but I find it easier to just create your table and then just make your manual deletion like that. You do that by making sure that under Edit Index, you want to disable the Protect Against Manual Changes. You also can select how your entries are inserted. So I have it basically like this. It actually looks a little bit boring. You can rework this. You can put in hyperlinks, tab stops, entry. You can do character styles, just a variety of different things. This is actually how the style layouts are put. And then if you want to do multiple columns. So of course I have now columns is a little bit more difficult to set up. Let's see if this works. It might be dependent on the version. So it is a little bit more complicated to get columns to work. We will not cover that in this particular video. I would just have to remember how I've done that in the past. So I'm trying to think if I even did it on this book or not. So yeah, actually I did do it on this book. Just give it a minute to get that index updated. So there we go. Yep, columns is working just fine. So now we can set our columns. That used to not work as well. That's been updated and fixed in the more recent versions. All right, so let's see. What else do we need to look at? Let's go ahead and work on getting a document style. So here is a document that I'd want to get running, and how do you go ahead and get the style in? Now, of course, this here is manually written, which I'm just going to delete that eventually. So let's go ahead and pull this guy up. So the first thing you want to do if you have a manuscript that you would like to style, first thing you want to do is come over here, and I like to come in here and just delete whatever I know I don't need. And I really have only had to do this once. I have you can actually save a document template. So I actually use the document template. So endnotes, envelopes, I don't need. I can hide the envelope, can't delete it. First page, there's a footnote. HTML, I'm going to hide. Index, we'll keep that. Landscape, going to hide. So now we have default style. We have left page, right page, first page. We'll just use our first page for our chapter page style is what we'll do. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're just going to start by modifying our page. So right now this is 8.5 by 11. If I want to do a typical book, I might do a 5.5 by an 8.5. That's what I run most of my books at. Okay. And then we select our orientation, and then we want to do our margins. And it's fairly safe to just do 0.5 margins across the board. So we'll just do 0.5 margins on everything across the board. So go ahead and push this guy there. And now we have the formatting that's going to accept that. That seems a little tall to me. Let me double check. Did I fix that right? 5.5 by 8.5. So yeah, that's correct. All right, so then what we're going to do is you just want to make sure that each one of the pages kind of starts with that. So there's 5.5 and 8.5. So the 5.5 and 8.5 is dictated by your printer. You want to look at your specifications, 5.5, 8.5. Now, some of these guys are based on an earlier one. So if you see there's next style, some of these are going to be based on the previous style. I forget exactly how to set that, but it might have already fixed some of these. Oops, I accidentally hid that. I didn't want to hide it, but. Okay, so this one's 8.5 by 5.5, and my guess is these are also going to be 8.5 by 5.5. Okay, if you do accidentally hide a style like I did, here's your hidden styles. So we're going to hit show on that one. Just going to go to the very bottom. There you go. All right, so now we have these guys right. Now, of course, as you know, our left page and our right page, we're going to modify these guys. And we do need to double check all our margins. 0.5, 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. And so let's see. So a left page, we want a bigger right margin. So we're going to go with 0.6 on this margin. Okay. On a right page, we want a bigger left margin. So we want 0.6 here. And if you remember, a chapter page, which we're using front page for, this one here, is going to be a 0.6 on the left. All right, so there is how to go ahead and get the first page set, your margin page set. So now what we're going to do is let's make sure that our first page goes into a next style of left page. And then our left page and our right page should be working correctly, but let's just verify that. So left page next goes to right page, and right page next should go to left page, which they do. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start out with, we're just going to start with this page here. We're just going to start by calling some of these at the front just default style. We might change these later. This one here will go default style. And then this one here, we're going to say this is a first page. So then this will be, this one to be a, okay, let's see, first page. So that one jumped right back to left. You'll see that. So double check this on first page again. Right page. So that should be going first page. Okay. So what we need to do there, you can see it's not fixing its right page correctly. So what we're going to do is we're going to give us an extra space here and insert more breaks, manual break, and then first page. Now this should tie first page. This should go to left page. This should go to right page, to left page, to right page. So you'll kind of see what it's doing there. Now, the problem is right here, this guy starts chapter 1. And what we want to do is right here, we're going to delete. So we're basically making sure that chapter 1 is on this page here. And again, insert more break, manual break, and first page. All right, so now this guy will be back to first page. This guy will be back to left page, right page. Now, your challenge is you want to make sure that your first page is also always a right page. So if this is a left page going into a right page, a first page, that's perfectly fine. But if you were to have a left page here, right page, if this one ended on right page, you want this guy to also be right page. So you just insert another default style. Now, the reason I keep default styles separate from other styles is I want it to be completely blank always. All right, so let's go ahead and get our indexing in. So we're going to come over here, highlight my chapter 1, and just double click it into chapter 1. This is a chapter title, so I can just call this something else. Oops, I hit my scroll button there. Scroll down. We're not worried about that quite yet. Let's just go ahead and find each of these guys here. In fact, let's go ahead and talk about how I'm doing these. So this here is a Bible quote. I want to create something that's kind of based on a quote, but I don't want it to be the same quote as everything else. So I'm going to hit New off of the right click of quotation, and it creates a child style. So you can see it says inherit from. That means anything not specifically defined here is going to be defined by the parent. So I'm going to call this a Bible chapter quote. And what we're going to do with Bible chapter quote is just give it a name. And then we want to maybe specify a font. So let's do 1942 report, which is kind of an interesting looking font there. So we'll start with that. And then now if we go down to our quotations, where is that? It should be right under here. Let's double check. Did it get put up here? It should have been put as a parent under here. I think it's, there we go, hierarchical. Got to change that setting down to hierarchical. Now it will show up in our quotations. There we go. So now you can kind of see that's difficult to read, but now that it's here, we can actually modify it on the fly and just do some tests. So maybe if we want to bump up the size, you can kind of see what that's doing. Say, I don't really like that font. Let's see what that one looks like. That's kind of worse. All right. And then indents and spacing. I don't like that double line spacing, so let's dump that down to single. That's still a little bit too much. Let's go proportional, and then we'll go, let's try 80. Okay, so you can see you can get them a little bit smaller. That's actually, okay, there's the first one. There's below the paragraph. Here's before the text. Here's after the text. So you can see we're just kind of working with a variety of different things. We do have spacing above, spacing below. We do need to find the first line spacing as well. that might be something that's being modified by the main index line that we need to change. So you can kind of get the idea here that you're going to get through all of these guys and work with all of the different settings to change them. All right. So here's default style. You just want to set your default style to whatever font that you want to use. And that's your kind of basic layout. So we're not going to go through all of that. But you kind of see what you do where you are just kind of going through and just dropping in your styles. I just find my chapter 2. There's conclusion. And you can see chapter 2. So here, this guy here, going back to our page style, is on a right page. Now this is the case where, remember, this is a right page, but we always have to make sure that our first page is also a right page. So in this case, we're going to insert more breaks, a manual break, and then a default style. Now that we've done that, this guy here will be a right page. This guy is technically a left. We want this to be on a right, so we're going to start with this guy, do another break, and now we're doing our first page. Okay, let's go and delete. So now this guy is our first page. So now we had a right page. This is a blank page, which is going to fall on the left side of the book. And now our chapter 2 starts on the first page, and then we go down to a left page. Now, if you don't fix it like that, what you're going to have is you're going to have a case where you will get a page number skip inside of your book. And if that drives you crazy, that's what it's from. It's because of the page number. All right, so now we have 2 chapters in there, mostly formatted. So now if we check these guys under headings, we can see chapter 1, chapter 2. And if I were to go back up to the top page up here, let's go ahead and dump this guy. And we're going to insert table of contents. And then from here, we're going to select what we're going to do. Now, I don't want 10. We're just going to go ahead and do 1. And you'll see that now we get table of contents, chapter 1, chapter 2. So that's kind of how we get some basic formatting done. There's a lot more we can do with it, of course, but that's kind of to get us kind of started. This was a little bit long, maybe a little bit boring, unless you're seriously interested in formatting a book. I will also remind you that I do have a service where I will format a manuscript for you. So if you do need advanced formatting, go ahead and get a hold of me and we can talk about prices, times, etc. to get a manuscript formatted in LibreOffice. So thanks for coming along on this longer than I would have liked video. But anyway, hopefully it was interesting to you. And now I'll hang out with you guys in the comments for a little bit. So thanks for coming along and hope that you enjoy switching to Linux. All right. Yeah, it looks like I bored a lot of people stiff, man. We fell down to less than half of our starting crowd. You guys are the troopers hanging in there. All right, let's see. Are these records of people getting sued by Adobe? Are there records? I don't know of any. Manjaro for the win. All right. Raining here now like cats and dogs. Thunderstorms, so you might go soon. All right. Well, speaking of cats and dogs, I mean, I don't have a dog, but I do have a kitty. Hi. All right. All right. Sleepy, how's it going there, Mr. Sleepy? What's going on? People think about Tor browser. Some thinks it's just another spy tool. I would generally trust the Tor browser. I mean, don't do something stupid on it, like do illegal stuff, but definitely, I mean, I think Tor browser is fine. In fact, my phone uses Tor browsers. Beauty of encryption is that the math of proof is unhackable since no one has yet hacked it. It is safe. There you go. Right, Kitty. Kitty wanted to come up here. He's like, it's the end of the stream. I'll get fed soon. Huh? Yeah? All right. Arch users are glorified beta testers. There you go. All right. We'll support you, but the only way I can do with Brave Browser is BAT token. But you are not verified yet, and nor will I get verified. You can support me by watching the videos. There you go. Arch is more stable than Debian testing. It might be. I don't know. I just wish the kernel devs weren't all on cocaine and actually add useful stuff to the kernel, like supporting my Wi-Fi card. There you go. Okay, because if you sign into anything, it breaks in anonymity. Yes, you do not sign into anything on Tor. Use crypto, not bot. And a keychain exchange. Okay, let's see. Onion Share, is it reliable? I've only used Onion Share a couple times. I found it to be reliable when I needed to use it. So I would, I mean, yeah, again, I wouldn't do anything stupid or illegal on it, but I would definitely say it's a decent service. He's bypassed any website, YouTube video blocks, deleted social media accounts long ago. Only my Google account stays. Yep, there you go. Reason I've been using Open LibreOffice over 10 years now is because I abhor the ribbon interface. So do I. Greetings, Quint Berkeley. How's it going there? Guys, I have a quorum on here, so I'll let you guys know I will not be doing a supporter stream tomorrow. We will not do a supporter stream tomorrow. I may do, let's see, I have half a day because of finals. You can do Friday afternoon. So I don't know, maybe I can do supporter stream on Friday. I don't know. I'll think about it. I'll figure out what I need to do. So, you know, red flags and the issues on GitHub. Most stuff wouldn't be worth it. Police wouldn't. Intelligence services probably wouldn't. Some VPN free account from Proton Mail with a server set to Oklahoma server should do that. Good luck on the finals. Indeed, indeed. Digging the cyber trench for myself. Yep. Replace Adobe with Krita, Carbon, Inkscape, and GIMP. Doing good. All right, very cool. Looks like we've hit to the bottom of the comments as well. Yeah, that's why is it people really want to know how to do these things, and then when I do the videos, they're the lowest view count. It's actually why I'm slowing my Nextcloud videos down, because like nobody watches them. It's funny. Nobody watches them. I want to get them all out, but nobody watches them. It's not worth my time to spend hours putting together a comprehensive video on Nextcloud if 200 people are going to see it. But I don't care. Anyway, let's go ahead and feed the kitty. You guys hung in to the very end. You deserve some kitty treats, huh? Right, kitty. Right, kitty. Huh? Oh, kitty. Here's the kitty treats. Here's the kitty treats. Come on. They're right here, dummy. Did you get one? Yeah, you got one. Here's another one for you. Oh, that was out of camera view. We got to give you a fourth one now, don't we? And we're going to go this camera here. Yeah, there you go. Are they finger licking good? Yeah. They are finger licking good. Yes, they are. They are finger licking good. Finger licking good. All right. Well, thanks for coming along, everybody. I hope that you enjoy switching to Linux and Writer and GIMP and other fun stuff. Have yourselves a wonderful afternoon.